Hi, how you doing? How do you answer that question nowadays? If you're honest and you're like me, you're probably often saying tired lately. Maybe exhausted might be a better word. How many times lately have you heard people answer that question with, I'm great, thanks, I'm just so well rested, I'm so full of energy, and I'm just raring to go. In the field of crisis and trauma work, one of the main problems we'll look for when monitoring how well the crisis responders and frontline workers are doing is how tired they feel, because it's a prominent symptom of burnout or compassion fatigue, or what's also been known as secondary traumatic stress or vicarious stress, or now the term in our field is empathic strain, because in my field we always have to keep coming up with new names for things. When responders go into the field and they're dealing with the traumatized, it rapidly wears on them. That's one of the reasons they cycle crisis responders out so rapidly, and they take shifts with extended breaks between those shifts, so they can kind of avoid that secondary stress and they can recuperate. Because exposure to others' trauma, even when you're helping them, is extremely stressful. And stress is cumulative. It builds over time, so that as we're exposed to stress, little stressors become increasingly difficult to bear. Keeping in mind that we're coming up on 2 years since the first school closure because of COVID. That equates to 2 years of cumulative stress we've all been dealing with. Now, what does this have to do with education? Teaching, specifically in the time of coronavirus, carries with it an inordinate amount of stress. The uncertainty of what's to come, the fear that we could return to online learning at the drop of the next variant, the need to be prepared to offer hybrid learning, parents setting demands for you when their kid's home with a sniffle, saying, why is there not a digital format of the class available to me right now? The need to keep our students up to date with the curriculum when a large percentage of them are at home at any given moment with cold and flu symptoms. The unpleasant changes in our own day-to-day lives, Christmas being wonky, family conflicts about vaccination beliefs, restricted travel opportunities, plus you're working with others who are also experiencing a lot of stress. And many of your students are experiencing a great deal of stress, and their parents, and stress is, like all human emotion, contagious. Anyway, you probably don't need me to convince you that your job and your life is much more stressful during the pandemic. Stress is contagious. Stress is cumulative. So there really is a chance that if you're feeling tired all the time lately, you may be feeling some of the early warning signs of burnout. Now, before you quit your job or hit the stress leave button on your SRB, I want to assure you, early warning signs are not a cause for alarm. Warning signs are just that. Warnings. Something to attend to, and to recognize that you may need to make some adjustments in your life. What kind of adjustments? Well, I've got some ideas for you. 10 ideas, specifically. Not necessarily the top 10 self-care tips, but these are some, in my opinion, wise things for you to consider in order to keep you on your game, even when you're feeling a good deal of stress or really tired. 1. Let down your emotional guard. Volatile emotions are a bit tricky to acknowledge. They can actually be scary to admit to and to recognize because they make us feel vulnerable. A part of us can sometimes feel like, what if my emotions overwhelm me? What if it's too much for me to handle? If I admit it and open the door, what if I get overwhelmed or smothered by my emotions? But I do encourage you to open that door a bit, to let down your guard a bit and acknowledge your stress. Right now, in this time of uncertainty, increased stress and anxiety are the norm. Acknowledge it, accept it. You might actually be surprised how relieving it can be to say to yourself, I feel stressed right now. 2. Identify what's in your control. Many of the things that make us feel anxious are completely outside of our control. They bother us, we get all worked up about them, but we really can do nothing about them, nothing to change them. So take some time to think about what you can do today, what's within your control, and focus your cognitive efforts on those things. 3. Consider temporal context. So many of us lately, maybe because we're so tired or stressed, are simply looking down, putting one foot in front of another, and simply, one day at a time, moving forward. This is a protective, safe, and sometimes practically necessary way to function in a time of uncertainty. But the problem with prolonged lockstep is that we become decontextualized from our own trajectory, our past, our future, and we get kind of lost in the now. Your past, how far you've come pre-pandemic, or maybe even during the pandemic, and your future, which is evidently on the left side of your screen. What are your long-term hopes and goals? So the past, your own success stories, things you've conquered, experiences you've enjoyed, and how they've brought you to this moment. And the future, what am I looking forward to? What are my hopes and goals? What do I want for myself and my loved ones in 5 years? Remember, this moment really is going to pass. It really is going to be history one day and not always your present. Remembering that can keep us from getting stuck in a sense of decontextualized temporality. And keeping a temporal context, a time context, is really important for your mental health. 4, stay connected. I know, sorry, us mental wellness people are a little bit repetitive on something like this regarding connection, but it bears repeating because all of this isolation, all of this meeting online and social distancing and quarantining and travel restricting, it's not good for the human soul to disconnect from our social support system. So break that. Reach out, call your mom, connect with someone you love, or connect with someone who needs to hear that you love them or you're thinking about them right now. These simple connections, these simple relational attempts will keep your soul in that sense of interpersonal connection that we all really do need to keep from being swept away by our stresses. Number 5, I just talked about connection, but number 5 is disconnect, by which I mean schedule time to unplug all of your electronics, including your work phone, for a realistic period of time each day, daily. Yes, even you Clash Royalers and Merge Dragoners. Let everybody know that you're going to be unavailable from, say, 7 to 8 p.m. or whatever works for you, and legitimately unplug. Choose a fun and healthy alternative activity to engage in, like going for a walk. I mean, it's getting a little warmer outside now. Or taking a relaxing bath. I know, it's probably like telling a junior high kid to wear a jacket outside when it's cold. You know it's a good idea, you tell them every day, but they still don't do it. And I feel like that's probably what me telling you to stop being on your phone and go get some exercise is probably something similar. But I'm telling you now, try it. People who've gone on a 7-day screen fast, it's a thing, find it's remarkably resetting. But you don't have to do 7 days. I think you can realistically do half an hour a day, maybe more, and that can help reset your system to the real life analog world. Number 6, avoid catastrophizing. When we're under stress, we usually tend to overestimate how bad things are likely to get and underestimate our ability to cope with things. Interesting, right? So sometimes we need to remind ourselves that we're all right, that we can handle the difficulties that face us. Like this simple reminder taped to my door by a grade 2 class at IF Cox last year. I encourage you to actually dig into the hard work of replacing your cognitive catastrophizing thoughts, arguing with yourself a little. If you're experiencing catastrophic thinking, or even just simply negative thinking, I'm never going to be able to survive this, try changing that to, this is going to be really difficult, but I'm going to make it through. I have survived, I will survive again. Number 7, decrease your stressors. This is one of the first things that a doctor will say to you if you complain to them that you're feeling really anxious. Before they prescribe sertraline or fluoxetine, they'll probably tell you to cut back on some of the things that cause you stress. You have so much to do in so little time. Most of these things are self-selected. So ask for help, set priorities, pace yourself a little, and cut back on some of the things that cause you stress. 8, eat healthy, sleep healthy, move healthy. The trinity of self-care. Don't just eat comfort foods, even though that's what your stress tells you to eat. Eat lots of fruits and vegetables, drink lots of water. I know, wear your coat when it's cold outside. Sleep hygiene. Make your bed amenable to sleep. Keep your bedroom dark. Keep it cool. Use your bed for sleep, not for watching TV or for reading. Try relaxation or mindfulness before bedtime. I use the app Calm sometimes to get my heart and mind ready if I'm feeling some stress. After you lay down, if you don't fall asleep within about half an hour, get out of bed. Read a couple pages of a book. Read until you feel tired and then lay down again. It's a little weird, it's a bit counterintuitive, but they actually say that the best cure for insomnia is staying awake as long as you can. And physical activity, stay active, keep moving. It's not always motivating, but it really is always rewarding. Number 9, give to others. Find ways to help people around you. Prepare a care package for your university kid, or make cookies for a neighbor. Find ways to help others. Paradoxically, it will usually pay off with giving you a little bit more energy. One of the worst feelings that accompanies burnout is that sense of helplessness. And engaging in helpful acts is a perfect antidote to feelings of helplessness. 10. Dismiss negative thoughts. When your negative thoughts come, and they will come, Martin Luther, a monk from the 13th century, used to say, you can't stop birds from flying over your head, but you can keep them from building a nest in your hair. When they come, dismiss them. Shake them off. Replace them with a realistic can-do thought. And ask yourself, what can I do now? What can I practically do in this moment that will help me feel a bit better? I hope these ideas are helpful and not simply another top 10 list of things you're not doing well enough to heap shame into your already exhausted and overwhelmed emotional backpack. Don't just think about them or plan to try them if things get really hairy. Pick a couple of them and give them a shot today. And judge for yourself if they actually do provide you with a bit more energy and a bit more hope. Because that's the other part of burnout that we want to avoid, is hopelessness. So, take care of yourself so that you can keep being the person that you want to be, the person that you were made to be.